What's up, everybody? Welcome. It is Friday afternoon. Just got in from Santa Clara back home. Watched 49ers Friday practice. All the quarterbacks through today. So a lot to get to there. Also, be lying if I tell you I wasn't spending a good portion of the day the last week, the last several weeks, thinking about all the outcomes of the Pac-12. So I might give you some thoughts on that afterwards. But solo guy today after a 49ers practice. Their schedule is going to be they're going to practice again on Saturday. They'll have Sunday off. They're going to practice Monday, Tuesday. They're going to have Wednesday off. They have to have Wednesday off, and then they're going to practice Thursday, Friday with the Raiders joint, and then they'll play a game on Sunday. So anyway, thanks to everybody that's hanging. If you're here live, awesome. Hit that like button. If you're here right now, just hit that like button. That helps us out. We appreciate it very much. And subscribe to the channel. If you're not subscribed to the channel, do that. The data tells us that half of you watching this are not subscribed. If you are listening to this channel, no, rephrase. If you are listening to this podcast, that's great. We appreciate that very much. Whether you're brand new or an OG, share it with people and leave us a review. Apple Podcast or wherever you get your podcast. In that review, leave us a question, 5 stars. Leave us a question. That's how you get in the mailbag. Or you can just email the show, promo code ham@gmail.com. I'm going to run you guys through some of what we saw today at Niner practice. A lot of reps for Brock Purdy, Trey Lance, and Sam Darnold. There were reps for Brandon Allen today. There were not reps for Brandon Allen yesterday. And yeah, I mean, a little bit of a little injury scare for the Niners today. You know, they've had a pretty uneventful camp in terms of the moment. I mean, they've had situations where guys get hurt. I don't know, was not really on NFL Twitter today. So if something happened today, I know John said yesterday that there was maybe a Zach Charbonnet injury in Seattle. But it's possible we've had the moment. Jalen Ramsey is hurt. Cooper Kupp got hurt. Obviously, Elijah Mitchell's hurt. But like that moment where everything stops. Oh, we had the moment. It was what am I thinking? We had the Joe Burrow moment. So we had a little bit of a moment today because Debo went down. I'm just scrolling because I got out of Santa Clara immediately, did not go to the press conference to get home to see if there was anything there. It was a really tough physical contested catch, but Debo walked off, later got back in team drills, did not disappear, was sticking around. So it looked like he was okay. But we had that little kind of that scare moment where everybody holds their breath and wonders the hell is going on. All right. You want quarterback grading? We'll do quarterback grading. We'll start with that. I'm going to add up the last 3 days of golf scores. For those of you who aren't golf people, a par is breaking even. It's good. A par is good. That's a good throw. It's the throw that everybody else should make. It's the throw you're supposed to make. It's not extraordinary effort. It's a par, even. A birdie is good. Birdies are good. Bogeys, bad. Bogeys are bad. And golf has reverse scoring. So negatives are good and positives are bad. So +1 is worse than -1. Anyway, so here we go. And by the way, let me note before I score these guys, I don't look at what the numbers were. I have not looked yet at Twitter and compared to what numbers are. So I try to score this, go through it, think about it. Sometimes I change the score. If you're watching on video, you can see color coded. Blues are pars, blacks are pars, reds and greens are birdies and bogeys or double bogeys. But I don't look at what anybody else has, but we can, if someone wants to throw it in there. All right. Sports fan says, man, the QB drama is seriously unhealthy. Unhealthy to not have an established 10-year franchise quarterback or, a young franchise quarterback solidified and healthy. That's what's unhealthy, is how unhealthy the 49ers quarterbacks are. But also agree that, yeah, this is ideally they can move past this and move on from all of it. So here we go. Brock Purdy today, 14 pars, 14 really good, just good throws, 3 birdies. That's 3 really good throws, 3 excellent throws, 1 bogey, and 1 double bogey. So I'll talk you through those. His bogey was a deep throw to Debo. It was underthrown. Debo had his guy beat down the left sideline. This is in team drill. it was underthrown. Hufanga came flying in and broke it up. Had a shot at what really would have been a very difficult interception. Very reminiscent of the pass breakup that Hufanga had early in camp, maybe day 1 or day 2, on a Sam Darnold deep ball to Danny Gray, where receiver had it beat, underthrown, and Hufanga comes flying over and breaks it up. This ball was the Darnold throw early in camp was a better throw than this Purdy throw that was more underthrown than that Darnold throw was. But it was not, to me, double bogey worthy, which would have been like, it walks over and takes the pick. It was a very tough play for Hufanga. He made a tough play, almost picked it up. I almost picked it off. He was airborne sideways, but a nice pass breakup for him. If someone wanted to argue double bogey, we could discuss it on the throw, but it was the right decision. I mean, he had his guy. He didn't get the ball there to him. So 14 pars, 3 birdies, 1 bogey, 1 double bogey. The 3 birdies and the bogeys cancel each other out, and even par today with a lot of pars for Brock Purdy. Trey Lance today, 9 pars and 2 bogeys. So +2 today for Trey. He had a couple like really good par throws, right? Like the type of throw that you go, okay, I think everybody makes that throw, but it's like a par plus. It's a really good throw. And I was talking to Josh Dubow, the Associated Press, and one thing he was saying to me was, when PFF grades, they grade on half numbers. So it'll be like a -1 or a -0.5, a -1.5, a -2, that sort of thing. And I like that system because I can see that it really comes into play here. Oh, before I move on, thank you. Charlie asked, what was the double bogey for Brock? Double bogey for Brock was a sack. That was obviously the play continues. Brock kind of rolls right and just kind of gets rid of it to the sideline. And the pass was picked off by Deshaun Jameson. So that was the double bogey because it was, I thought, bad decision and bad throw. Now, somebody might argue, yeah, he knew that play was over. That was a sack. He doesn't throw that in a game. Maybe that's true, but we can only judge on what you do here. I there was a play a couple days ago where I thought Brock, it was a sack. He's like, instead of not throwing it at all, I'm going to throw it and get the ball out. This was 2-3 days ago. And I saw that play from the front side, so I could see his body language and see him just kind of go, oh, this play's over. Flick it. It was hard to tell from the backside if that's what happened here or if he was trying to make that play. But we can just judge him on the play that got made. He might sit down in the film room, calm. I go, yeah, I know you were just screw it, giving a 50-50 ball to a DB and a receiver to see what happened. I don't know if that was the intent, so we'll grade it like that. But it was a par day for him. Anyway, back to Trey. 9 pars, 2 bogey throws today for Trey. Nice throw to Willis over the middle. This was a par throw this was a good throw for Trey. It was not a great throw in and of itself, but it was a good throw in the sense that he has missed Willis kind of behind a couple times and coming across the formation. And this time he hit him right there. Willis on a Darnold ball, actually, like right here, made a nice catch. I'd wondered if Willis could make that catch, but he made that catch. So it was an even day for Brock. A couple of negative throws. That's what a bogey is, a negative throw. A couple of negative throws for Trey. One of Trey's negative throws, but Trey actually started really well. He had a lot of very good throws throughout, really good throws. For example, he missed a throw in the right flat to, we talk about throws in the flats. Actually, we should talk about this throw. He missed a throw in the right flat to Jordan Mason today. And the right flat specifically has been a problem spot for Trey on like rollout layup throws. Even though this was an incompletion, I scored it just as an even throw, a par throw, if you will. Because Mason was covered. There really wasn't anywhere great to throw it. He put it kind of out there only where Mason could get it. Maybe threw it a little too hard, which is part of the Trey short game that he needs to, figure out. But I thought the pass kind of had to be hard given the situation with the defense. So that's an example of a ball that Trey did not complete short that I didn't give him a downgrade for, a negative grade on. Had a nice throw to Jennings while he was backpedaling over the middle. Had a nice throw over the middle, a little behind, but Jack Colletto went up, bobbled it, and then caught it. That was a nice play. Ronnie Bell, little behind, but nice play, nice throw. A high throw to Jennings, but hey, it's Juwan Jennings. You know you're going to put it there. So I give guys benefit of the doubt. Throw it up there. Juwan Jennings goes and gets it. Nice throw. Not a throw, not a grade. Made a nice play, a quick snap in the dirt, in the grass. And Trey got to it quickly and got it off to Mason, to Ty Davis Price very quickly. The two downgrade throws or bogey throws for Trey. I'll get to a question here about how I'm grading in a second. But flush to his right, the running back headed for the sideline is like parked at the sideline, right? So imagine Trey's just looking at the running back, just staring at him. Now Trey's on the move. Okay, this is not part of the play. He's flushed out, throws it. Would have, it's one of those like, hey, at least we're gonna get 3 yards here. The guy can step out of bounds, and he spiked it. Running back did not have a play. So hold on, let me just. Greg Pop is asking where his pass that I borrowed is. All right. So somebody asked here, Wesley says here, so none of those nice throws are birdies. Good question. Again, the good throw it's a good throw. All right. A par is not like a nothing throw. You made a good throw, but it's the throw that you're supposed to make if you're an NFL starting quarterback. If you're Kyle Shanahan starting quarterback, you're just supposed to make that play. And guys are asked to make on a regular basis consistent good throws. So that's what a par is. A birdie is an like an above average, like, okay, I don't think everybody could have made that throw. And part of that is you got to sometimes the practice doesn't present. Like yesterday, Darnold didn't even have a chance at a birdie throw because he didn't take any of those types of chances where he pushed the ball down the field. So I thought Trey did actually. Trey's intermediate stuff is fun to watch. He can really uncork it. And when it connects, and he connected a lot on those today, it moves the ball. It moves the ball. Like a par day, an even day can be a pretty good day. It's a very good day, I think, for Kyle. So Trey had a fair amount of those today. But that is price of admission for being an NFL quarterback. You have to make those throws. You don't get extra credit with those throws. So, Isaiah Winstead, I don't know where he's not fitting into the top 6 battle, and the battle for like the next guy, or the top 5 battle, right? There's the battle for the 6th guy. I don't think Winstead's in that, but Isaiah Winstead, who's a big rookie out of East Carolina, 6'4", 213, is a guy that I could see in 2 years, if they can keep him on practice squad, kind of developing a little bit, because he has flashed to me. I've seen him flash a few times. He made a nice catch, a little bit of a high and to the right throw, but a nice catch by him on a Trey Lance ball. That was a good connection. Those are NFL, those are big league plays, and they made big league plays. The other bogey for Trey, the other downgraded throw I gave him, was a difficult throw. And this was a throw that there's probably, this system lacks kind of an in-between throw. I thought this was an in-between throw, but it was not. You want better than what this throw was, which is why I ultimately gave it a bogey. It's probably like a negative half, not a negative full. So here's the play. Red zone. Braden Willis running out into the flat. Okay. Kind of one of those where you're looking that way as the quarterback, you're running that way, and there's not a lot of angle. It's a tough angle. Willis had a defensive player right on his back. You can't throw it softly, probably. If you do, you got to be really careful that it doesn't get jumped and pick sixed. So you got to put a little something on it. In the effort to put a little something on it, I think, or at least to throw it normally, kind of running to his left at a tough angle, Trey threw a knuckleball, or at least a wobbler. And it made a tough play for Willis even tougher. it was going to be a tough play. No matter who the quarterback was, it was going to be a tough play for Willis, given the angle. It's a tight end looking back, trying to turn the corner, kind of running parallel, and the guy on his back. And it was going to be a tough play. But the fact that if the ball had come out cleanly, I think I would have just given that a no grade. It's fine. But because the ball came out pretty wobbly in a short area with velocity, I just don't think you didn't give it a chance. So those were the grades there. But again, at the end, if you watch golf, anybody that watches golf knows somebody who shoots par and somebody who shoots 2 over, there's not a big separation between those. They almost had the same day. But as I said, the difference is, even though, Brock had about the same score as Trey today, I thought Brock really pushed the ball over the top down the field more today. I did not go through the plus throws for Brock. He had a really nice go ball, which the Niners, I've been telling you, never hit, to Kittle today. That was basically like a 50-50 ball, and Kittle won it. So that was a plus throw. A plus throw, I went back and forth on it. Ayuk made a really good catch on a ball with Lenore on him. It was like to me, it felt like just like a big pro play. So I gave Purdy a plus throw on that. And I threw a good ball in a tight spot to Debo in red zone, kind of sideline in the end zone, kind of put it on Debo. Debo made a good catch. Defenders everywhere. Debo goes down hard. Everybody holds their breath, and Debo was okay. But I thought that was a plus throw. So those were the plus throws, the birdie throws for Brock Purdy today. Sam Darnold. I had him 1 over par, a bunch of pars, a bunch of even plays, and 1 bogey today. I'm just looking here at Darnold to see if there's any pars to really share. The negative play for him was a Jameson near interception. I think I gave Jameson Purdy's interception, which is incorrect. Jameson nearly had an interception on Sam Darnold, where he goes to throw it out to the right and he just jumps the route. Otherwise, a pretty straightforward day. And, a lot of pars for him. So he was 1 over. So again, him and Trey kind of, I thought in about the same boat today. And, I was thinking about this morning, shaving, harrys.com/ham, that yesterday, the ball that Trey threw that was a pick, Kyle said afterwards he needed him to check it down. And I didn't think about this yesterday. This morning, I'm like, the thing is, Darnold just checked it down a lot yesterday. So he did a lot of, I think, you don't have to you don't have to extra impress Kyle. You just gotta check it down to him. So that's what Darnold did. Brandon Allen today was par, birdie. So actually, Brandon Allen was 2 under today, 2 plus throws, deep ball to the tight end Troy Fumagalli, which was broken up by Marcelino McCrary ball, but a flag was thrown. It was a really good throw. It was a really good long throw on a deep ball. So he had a good day today. But for those of you who have not been in it every day, one thing to keep in mind here is I don't believe Brandon Allen is in competition. I don't think Trey Lance is in competition. Sam Darnold in competition with Brandon Allen. So, he's getting less reps. They're not against as good of players. But that was a good throw. I mean, he made some good throws today. He made a couple of pro throws today. So those are the QB scores. I think the battle for that 6th receiver spot, if you go Debo, Ayuk, Jennings, McLeod, and Gray, which is, I think, how it should go, is interesting. Ronnie Bell has shown up a few times. Chris Conley showed up today on a deep ball from Purdy in one-on-ones. This is not in 11s. I didn't score these throws. Really, in one-on-ones, the only thing I'm looking for is negative throws or extra plus throws. But, most of these throws are just put it up there and let's see what happens. Chris Conley beat the defensive back Quantrez Knight, and Purdy hit him, which was good because there'd just been a rep where Purdy underthrew Ayuk on a deep ball. Conley is fast, and Purdy led him and hit him in stride. It was one of the best deep balls of Niners practice so far, not just today, but in general. And so that was a nice play I give Chris Conley on that. Tay Martin, I think, has shown up at times. And that receiver spot is a interesting spot. We'll get to some of your questions here in a second. Oh, one guy we haven't talked a lot about, but had a nice pass breakup today. And I think generally when you watch him, or when I watch him, what you see is just a pro. He just looks like and plays like a pro. When he's involved in a play, whether he wins or loses the play, he is right there. He's got a shot. Doesn't feel like he gets beat badly. Isaiah Oliver, the nickelback that they signed. I think he's going to be a good player for them. So good day for him. He made a play today. Moody, I had it at like 60, 62. I didn't see the exact number. Let me check the Jake Moody distance. He had a 60-yarder to end practice the other day, and was good today. Yeah, 63. I see Mayoko tweeted it was 63. No wind at his back today. And almost got there. Would have been good from 61.5, but good Jake Moody. So there were some keys today. Let's see here. Let me get to. Guy keeps it a buck, straight down the middle, unbiased, respect. Sometimes compliments will get recognized. So thank you. Are you confident Moody is the guy? Yes. They drafted him with the 99th pick. He is the guy. He has a bigger leg than Zane Gonzalez. Zane Gonzalez, could they end up, we'll see what happens, trading him for a 7th or something just before the season, maybe. He's been solid. But yeah, Jake Moody's the guy. Jake Moody's got a big leg, a noticeably bigger leg than Zane Gonzalez. Let's see here. Bobby says, how about we talk about how Purdy needs to get better at not underthrowing and forcing balls? It's something to watch, especially the deep ball. They don't hit it right now that consistently. I do think there is, and talking to some people, like, I'm just grading these throws, right? We don't know unless Kyle Shanahan tells us what he would have preferred the guy do on the play. I do think there's an element. It feels to me like there's an element to Purdy where, and I think you can probably feel a little more comfortable to do this when you are the solidified starter as he is. Like maybe you take a few shots that you wouldn't, not that you wouldn't otherwise take, but you take a few shots. Like let's try this thing out and see if we can dial it in. So, is there an element of that with him? Maybe. We'll have to see. He's going to be the guy that he's going to be the guy that is going to get the chance to do these in games. So he's going to get the chance to do these in games. It's hard to, some guys, you guys are yelling at each other. Brad says, who seems like they're winning overall, the offense or the defense? I've had a few people tell me they thought the offense was winning. I think the defense look really good. They don't get credit for their sacks. I mean, they do, but like, I think they're getting to the quarterback. It's so hard. Like today, Trent Williams did participate. There are other days when he doesn't, obviously. So the run game is so hard to grade. But I think the defenses look good. I think defenses look really good. I think they've created problems that in real games will be a problem. I think when you watch them with they're deep at safety, I'd like to see Jair Brown make some plays. He has not really flashed, but I think they like him, and it's okay. Like they've got Odom, they got Gibson, they got Ufunga, they got a good safety group. They got Mooney and Lenore, they got Isaiah Oliver. Like as long as that's healthy, and you see it, like when you watch them, you go, "There's a bunch of they got pros everywhere." When you watch their linebackers, they got pros. So especially when you plug in Bosa, yeah, I mean, defenses look good, I think. So, especially when you go, and I'll add all these up, but no quarterback is going like 4 under par. In other words, like you are not hitting consistent splash plays on this defense, which, you know, is kind of the recipe. Like the Niners can run the ball, they can play with the lead. So as long as you're not giving up home run plays on defense consistently, it's hard for teams to stick with you if you're going to run the ball consistently and you're going to finish your drives with touchdowns, which with Purdy they did last year. So, I think they should be able to get pressure with 4. They got linebackers that can cover. They've got a deep secondary. They got good safeties. In theory, it should be hard to hit home runs on this team. And at least in practice, there has not been anything close. There have been sustained drives, but it's hard to really measure some of these drives. But it's been rare where it's been like boom, 15-yarder, boom, 8 yards, boom, 15 yards, boom, touchdown. That hasn't happened. So I think the defense has done really well. Fern says it sounds like Brock threw a 50-50 ball and was bailed out by the receiver. I'm not sure. Maybe you're talking about the Kittle ball. I didn't think he was bailed out. I thought he made a good throw. And he, part of this is who you're throwing it to. If you're throwing a 50-50 ball to Debo with Isaiah Oliver on him or something like that, that's you're taking a much bigger risk than if you throw one to Kittle. And it depends where you put it. Like, to me, there's a difference between a 50-50 ball and an underthrown ball. An underthrown ball can be viewed as a 50-50, but it's underthrown. If your ball is just on the guy, and because the DB is also there, it becomes a 50-50, that to me is that's a good throw, because I'm watching these guys. They don't hit that throw a lot. So if you hit that receiver on a deep ball, and because the DB is there, there's a play to be made, then that's a plus throw. Now, if it's underthrown and it becomes a 50-50 ball, then you're not getting extra credit for that. So that's how I view that play, or those plays. AW with a 10 spot regarding the Habermetric scores. TM. Patent pending. What do you think an objectively good quarterback would get? Like, what's the gap between Niners quarterbacks and Sando tier 1 QBs? I don't know. Good question. Fair question. I invented this thing 3 days ago just as a way to try and go through plays with a little more color and help me kind of think about where were the pluses, where were the minuses. We could probably come up with 7 other ways to do it. So I haven't, I don't know. But my guess is over the course of 10 to 15 throws, in a practice, you're working on things. Think about even over a course of a game. You're not making 10 plus throws. That's not. So my guess is that if we went and pulled let's say a Mahomes game, that he makes, this is where like Middlekauff's not here to tell me if I'm right or wrong. Just give me a second opinion. So you guys can give me a second opinion, because, I'm just imagining here, but my guess would be 4. He makes 4 like plus throws. So I think it's going to be hard to be like a 4 under guy, especially when you consider Mahomes makes some other throws that are bogey throws. And like most of the game is about just making the throw you're supposed to make. And when there are 3 or 4 times a game, you got to make a play as the quarterback, you make that play. Patrick Mahomes does, Josh Allen, Lamar, these guys do a million things really well. But it's when the moment is there and you don't get that many chances, you take that shot. So, like, I think what Kyle Shanahan is looking for is a par quarterback. That's what he wants. That's what generally most guys are. I think backup quarterbacks or second string quarterback, third string quarterbacks, whatever, most guys who get a few years in the league can make a throw that looks like a throw that the best quarterbacks in the league can make, right? I think most guys can make a throw that looks like a throw that Tom Brady could make. The difference is over 17 games, Brady makes that throw when it presents itself a lot, and the other guy just sometimes makes that throw, right? And that's why I think like golf is a great analogy, right? Like if you play golf and you're bad, like me, it's 50-50. When you don't split the fairway, do you really have the right to go, oh, shit, right? Half the time. No. Well, that's most of us. Well, guys who are competing for NFL jobs are not most of us. Those guys make really good throws, the regular throws. Like the baseline is really good. The analogy, the comparison I used the other day was the major leagues. Double plays, a 6-4-3 double play, a grounder to short, flip to second, throw to first. Those are generally supposed to be routine plays in the big leagues, right? But when you watch big leaguers turn a double play, it's so crisp. The throws are so hard. They are on the money. And the range of the players, the ball that becomes a routine ball is not a routine ball for most people. That backhand spin, right? Like all that stuff. And that's where NFL quarterbacking is. The play that is graded as routine is a very difficult play to make. And if you can make the routine play over and over and over and over and over and over again, then you're going to be one of the better players in the league. And that's where you project a guy, you like, God, Trey or even Darnold, right? Guys with their arms are more likely to be able to make a wild play. When the pocket breaks and they're on the move and they got to throw back across, the arm can help you. And that's one of the reasons why you give, you lean with those guys, is because they can make the extraordinary play. Most guys at a certain level can make the regular play. But it's the regular plays with consistency and then the plus plays. So anyway, long answer. But yeah, my guess would be the scores wouldn't be as low as you think. Because to use a golf analogy, the courses are really hard. The courses are, you're playing NFL defenses. You're not going to kick their ass. You're not going to embarrass them with like these extraordinary plays all the time. But you got to hit them when they're there. So $2 Chuck, tech TDs and taps. What is the difference between Purdy in December of 22 and Purdy now? Hard to know. I mean, December 22 was playing in games. So it was easy to know what translated because we just watched it happen. Threw a lot of touchdowns in games, right? But it's I think it's very difficult to compare that. I'm not sure. I know there's been a big kind of debate about, is it fair to still use the word rust with him or not? I thought Kyle Shanahan's answer yesterday was interesting when Mayoko asked him, like, are you thinking about the injury? Kyle said, no, I'm not thinking about the injury. But he also just needs to kind of get things up to speed. And I think that's fair. He did not have a regular offseason. And that's been brought up with a lot of guys. Trey's had a couple years of irregular off seasons. It's come up with Kinlaw, irregular off seasons. So I think it's too early to answer that question for me. Part of what makes Purdy so impressive in games is it's stuff that if you did it in practice and people didn't think that maybe you had a shot, you might not get the credit for it. But when you do it in games, you get all the credit for it. So, yeah, I mean, I guess one thing you'd have to say, he protected the ball well in games. In the stretch after he took over in Miami, threw 3 picks into the Philly game. I think the most impressive thing he did last year, or one of the most impressive things he did last year, was throw touchdowns, like really score. And it seemed like Kyle is more comfortable with him pushing the ball down the field than he was with Jimmy. So, that's TBD, but it's a fair question. It's tough. I don't really have an answer for that yet because he did it in games. Jacob asked, do you think Trey is a starting caliber quarterback in the NFL, or is he closer to a backup caliber player? I think on a lot of teams, Trey Lance's work in camp would earn him starts. And then those real games would determine whether or not he's a backup or a starter. His talent is starter. He's athletic. All this talk about he's not as athletic as we expected, blah, blah, blah. True, but so what? He's more than athletic enough. The short game throws that miss are a problem. But on a bad team, on the Bears, he'd get to play 17 weeks. On the Bucks, like he would be the Bucks starting quarterback this year. And he'd play a lot and he'd miss some of those throws and he'd make some crazy plays, some positive plays with his arm. And you'd go, all right, now we can determine. But it takes time. Like Josh Rosen got a full season of starting before people went, nope, back up. So my answer, Jacob, is I think Trey I think it's possible that he's a starter. Yes, I think that is possible. My stance on Trey is I have not given up on Trey. Family Man Dante says, you said Brock had a double bogey throw on a sack with the interception. Trey had a bogey throw on a missed in a flat. I bet the coach is more pissed about one of those plays than the other. Are you suggesting that he's more pissed about the missed throw in the flat? Is that what you're suggesting? The other day, I graded both those plays the same. And people said, that should be a double bogey for a near pick, because Brock had a near pick the other day that was bad decision and bad throw, which is, I think, what this was, but hard to know about the decision because the play should have ended. But if you're suggesting that Kyle might hate missed throws in the flat more than this pick was, you can't throw a pick in the flat like that. So I don't know that. I think he probably hates that one more. Every offseason, this defense wins. Young is. Okay. Rome says, we messed up the Lance draft and still have a top 3 overall team in the league. Damn. Jimmy did throw some hospital balls. That's a fact, Jack. Scott asked, any idea what happened to Debo? I know he came back on the field after. Did he just tweak an ankle or something? I don't know, Scott. It's possible that there was some explanation that the beat writers have put out there. So if that's the case, I'm sure we'll see it. What it looked like was, he caught a ball kind of going up in traffic, got crushed, kind of landed on his side. So I got up kind of holding his side. So maybe it was maybe fell hard on his hip. I don't know. Maybe just got the wind knocked out of him, but he returned. So, I don't, someone said got the wind knocked out of him, Yeah, that's what I think it was too. That was my initial reaction. Jimmy G threw 3 picks today in Raiders practice. Did he? Fred Warner's going to be ready for that next week. Thursday, Friday, after the off day, Wednesday. Fred Warner is going to be ready for that. Charles T says your golf grading should do handicapping for par, i.e. a screen throw should be a par 3, a deep bomb, a par 5 or 6. So 2 things. One, yeah, that would make it more complicated. I thought that, like, this is a bogey on a par 5. That's a worse bogey than a bogey on a long par 4. But at that point, I'll probably just change to pluses and minuses because that's too convoluted. This is already a little convoluted. And as it relates to a par 6, fucking hate par 6s. There's one at Lake Chabot, which is a golf course in the Bay Area. If you're in the Bay Area, it's in Oakland, up in the hills, and it finishes with a par 6, and that's long. And the other day, I was, I'm constantly I'm trying to get my game into the 80s, and I was 18 over par. I'll keep it quick for you non-golfers. I was 18 over par with 1 par 6 to go. So I needed a par 72 hole course. So I needed a birdie on 18 to break 90. And that was a mess. Maurice, if there's a lot of par QBs, why trade 3 picks for a quarterback, especially if you want a guy who could just complete a screen pass and out? You got to explain that one. Because you're looking for the birdie quarterback. You're looking for the Mahomes. You're looking for the Josh Allen. It's what I think they thought once upon a time Sam Darnold would be. I think they would have drafted Sam in that draft in the draft. And that's what you're trying to get. You're trying to get the guy whose capabilities will allow for 4 to 5 game-winning type throws a week. And yesterday, the day before, it wasn't yesterday. The other day, John said something about, and I saw Crocky tweeted it. He said something about Matthew Stafford and the Rams. And he said that McVay kind of broke away from the mold when he got Stafford. And, Kyle, the Niners wanted Stafford. Why? because they feel like he's the guy that'll do the stuff you tell him to do, but also will make the plus plays. And those guys are hard to get. Goff is not that guy. Most guys are not that guy. Like that's tier 1 and tier 2 guys. So like I saw a bunch of Dak highlights from the other day, and I know there was the one underthrown ball that everyone was attached to. But I saw a bunch of Dak highlights the other day that were really impressive. Like and I don't know if they were all from the same practice or a week of throws. And I don't think, he's not a tier 1 or tier 2 guy, but he also makes some bad throws. And I don't think he's he's not a plus guy, but he makes a lot of damn good throws. So the Niners offense doesn't require that. Correct. It doesn't. But that's why the Trey pick was, in theory, a break. That's what it was when you're like Mac Jones versus Trey. The reason you go for Trey is because ultimately, does Mac Jones, and we'll find out, like, does Brock Purdy, do you win Super Bowls with those guys consistently? Do you have a shot to win a Super Bowl? This team has a shot because of their offense, because of their run game, because of their skill guys, because of their coach, because of their defensive coordinator, and because of their defense. They have a chance. But being in the Super Bowl against Joe Burrow or Patrick Mahomes and beating those guys is two different things. The Niners have been close. They've almost won the Super Bowl. What would have happened last year with the Eagles? I think they were in for a hell of a dogfight. And that thing was going to be, even with a healthy Purdy, a 50-50 coin flip, maybe 55-45 Eagles. So were they going to beat Jalen Hurts? A dynamic guy? Is he a tier 1 quarterback? No. But he makes plus plays. Maybe he'll become a tier 1 quarterback this year. Were they going to beat that guy with their guy? So when you stretch out to go get a more skilled quarterback like Trey Lance and you take that chance, you're acknowledging, boy, we might need a guy who can, Kyle dials up a play, the thing falls apart. Does the guy make a play out of it? In the Super Bowl, when Mahomes you call the right number, you call the right blitz, your guy is about to get to Mahomes and he gets rid of the ball and throws a touchdown anyway. Does your guy have an answer for that? So that's why you aim, because you're trying to win a championship, and the guys coming out of the AFC, whoever comes out of the AFC is going to be a superstar quarterback. It's going to be Mahomes or Josh Allen or Joe Burrow, or it's probably not going to be Herbert, even though he has that capability. And you're going to have to beat Jalen Hurts, and Dak has his limitations, but you got to beat Dak. So that's why you extend. And that's why there's a difference between being a Super Bowl contender and actually being the Super Bowl champion. And if you're the Super Bowl champion with a par level quarterback, you are generally the exception to the rule. Now, you could argue the Niners skill group and defense, maybe they are an exception. They're trying to be the exception. Now, maybe Brock turns into Drew Brees and it turns out they're not the exception. But until that happens, they are trying to be the exception. Judd says you never going to watch Brock and think he's extra special because he isn't physically as gifted, but Brock is better with game plan, moxie, calm. Last camp reports had him being cut. Yeah, I mean, he's got gamer qualities. Maybe Trey does. Maybe Darnold does. Like all these guys. You ultimately do play the games. And these practices then become kind of irrelevant, but it is going to set up kind of how it all starts, right? I did have this thought. We spent a lot of time talking about who the starting quarterback is, and we know the answer to that. It's Brock Purdy. We spent even more time talking about who the backup quarterback is, and we think we're going to get an answer to that. And part of me wonders, is there a chance Kyle carries 3 guys on the game day roster? And puts an or on the depth chart, meaning he doesn't name a backup. He just has Sam Darnold or Trey Lance. This is what a lot of college coaches do, or they have a slash on the depth chart. And so they don't ever tell you who the number 2 guy is. And so you never know. Now, the quick counter to that is, why would you do that? Why would you put 3 guys on your 46? You carry 3 on the 53 in an hour and a half before the game when the active players get named. we find out which one is the emergency quarterback who only plays if the other two gets hurt, and which one is actually on the 46. So that's probably the real answer. Dink and dunk all the way to 7 points. I don't give a fuck. Okay, I'm scrolling back. Just want to make sure I didn't miss any super chats. I don't think I did. So thank you for those. And other things. Ryan says, Guy is one of the few non-emotional quarterback talkers. I like to think that. Everybody says I'm the one that's not biased. Like the analogy I made the other day, yesterday, or the day before, Wednesday. Everybody, you go into a room with 10 people, each person thinks they're the politically moderate person and the other people are the extremists. And sometimes it feels that way in the quarterback discussion. But the fact is that most people, it's one thing to tweet with people. It's nothing when you go back and forth, have like a real conversation. Most of the time you can kind of get to a reasonable place. There we go. Okay. Now, emotionally, there is something I am emotional about right now. Where is this? Somebody had this comment. Oh, wasn't that? I am emotional about that. I love the Pac-12. The full disclosure, some of you may know this, some of you may not. I have worked for the Pac-12 for many years. One of the other things I do a lot of is call games on. That's where this board kind of comes from. Is that I call games for the Pac-12 network, football and basketball games, and on TV. And I host when I'm not doing a game, their post-game show, Saturday night post-game show. I'll do that this year. The Pac-12 After Dark post-game show, it's called, like 11 o'clock Pacific. And I love doing TV play-by-play. It's very fun for me. I want to do more of it. I've been very lucky in my time here in the Bay Area to call a bunch of different stuff. Some A's games on the radio, some Warriors games on the radio, a handful. But the last couple of years, I've been lucky enough to call like 6 games each year for FS1 college football and Mountain West games, and a couple Big 12 games in there too. And I love it. I'm very thankful when I can do it. And it's so much fun. And these crews are they're high level and they're doing fun stuff. And if it were not for the Pac-12 having given me a shot to do anything, I mean, almost 10, probably 9 years ago, I wouldn't have had the tape, the ability to show somebody else, like, look, I can do this. When I first started doing stuff for the Pac-12 network, I was doing intermission reports on volleyball matches. And then I did more stuff and then a lot of stuff for them. And so I didn't go to a Pac-12 school. I went to Fresno State. I moved to the West Coast before 9th grade, before high school at Davis High in Northern California. But I was always a sports fan. And, I love college football and college basketball. And this has been the Pac-12 has been a great college football and college basketball league. I haven't talked a ton about it. I do a Sirius XM show many mornings on Pac-12 radio. We've talked a lot about it there, but I found it hard to find exactly what the right thing to say about it is, especially as it's all been unfolding with television rights. A lot of people around the league were very hopeful for a very long time that a deal would be reached that kept the Pac-12 together. And it doesn't look like that's happening. By the time we're talking, maybe it's done. I don't know. But this morning it looked hopeful. Yes, last night it looked bad. And what it came down to, and I've hesitated to talk about it too because there's stuff but you can't say. And but publicly, what it's come down to is a potential deal with Apple. And there were some reports this morning that it was about to happen. And then the reports are that Oregon and Washington are going to the Big Ten. And the end of the Pac-12 is near or upon us. And it's too bad. I try to separate my bias, which is I like working with a lot of the people. I liked working with the league a lot. I loved it. I love the league. I'll do stuff with the league this year. I can't wait. And understanding like what the regionalization of college sports has meant. Like, it's cool to have the regions play each other. But, I think whether or not there's some, as we're talking, whether there's some 11th hour save or not, um, it feels like the future of college sports, right? Whether the Pac-12 did a 5-year deal with Apple or not. And the unfortunate thing, I think Apple could have done some really cool things, and you could have done some outside the box stuff. But I also really understand the hesitance to fully dive into what the future feels like before we're actually at the future. Right now, the highest rated television games are still on, believe it or not, ABC and CBS. The broadcast, the old school, not even ESPN. There is a major difference between when your game's on ABC and when your game's on ESPN. Even though you think most people are getting that through cable, the ratings are significantly different. So is streaming the future? Yeah, of course. Is it going to be that different for the consumer in the end? No, it's not. It gives more flexibility to the broadcast partners when things are streaming, how to distribute, but we don't have full mass adoption yet. And the hope was, if you told me today there was an Apple deal, it was done, well, then the goal for them would be, let's accelerate mass adoption, because we need that in order for this deal to work and for us to be financially viable. But whether it did or not, in 2 years or 5 years or whenever that TV deal is going to be up, it feels like the inevitable is Super League, 40 teams and a West and an East, an NFC and an AFC, and a big gap between those and the next group. And some people will go to the Big 12, even if the Pac-12 survived. The ACC, like, not all of those schools are going to be in the next level. And it'll be interesting to see if even some of the schools that are in the Big 10 and the SEC will be guaranteed to be a part of that next level. And I don't know. You don't know. But the next big thing on the horizon for college sports is everybody feels like you're going to be paying athletes soon. That the NIL era, while it will continue, will change, and that the schools will pay the athletes. And so you could understand why there is a real concern about every dollar that comes in and every dollar you're short. Because if you're short and if you're short financially and you're already a little bit behind, you're just not going to be able to get the players. You're not going to be able to win, and you're not going to be able to stay, in the circle of teams that'll make up the league that one day will exist, where everybody's making, I don't know, $100 million a year in rights, and the next group's making 25 or whatever. So, that's not all my thoughts, but it made me sad, but I wasn't surprised. What made it particularly excruciating today was it felt like they had pulled the miracle at the last minute. It was going to happen. And then I think the Big Ten came in at the last second. And I don't know yet what that offer to Washington, Oregon is, but gave them an offer that they had to take. Which, again, when I know the numbers, it'll be easier to say, here's whether or not I think they made the right decision or the wrong one. But I get it. I totally get it. It's too bad. But I'll do a bunch of Pac-12 football stuff this year, and I don't know what it's going to be like. I don't know if it's going to be weird or awkward or cathartic or what. What happens for Cal and Stanford and Washington State and Oregon State, schools like that? I don't know, but they had a deal. Almost. And we'll see what comes next. There will still be college football, and the world will keep spinning, and we'll find a way, and we'll enjoy this football season first. So anyway, I don't mean to go downer, but yeah, it's tough. It's tough. Anyway, nice chat with everybody. I think that was everything for today. Unless I missed anything, those were the scores. I got some pictures I'm going to put up. I've been taking some pictures out at practice, and the people that take, the real professionals that take pictures are freaking awesome. Like they were real. I took a few pictures. I put them on my Instagram. Go check out my Instagram at Guy Haberman. We'll love your follow and your likes. And I put up some pictures. I think a couple. Like if I take 10 pictures, like 1 or 2 of them is good, I think. But man, the people that really know how to take pictures, they are freaking awesome. I saw that, Michael Zagaris, who like does all the photography for all the various sports teams. He's like a famous rock and roll photographer. His book, you can find his book on Amazon. I think it's like $260 for some of his famous rock and roll photos. And it's really cool. I haven't bought it, but I may, just because I think it's kind of a collector's item. Anyway, so go check out the Instagram, just my name, at Guy Haberman, and I'll put up some pictures there. I think I got some good shots today. We'll see. Christian McCaffrey, somebody gave him some Oreos again today, and hopefully I haven't looked at the footage yet, so hopefully I got a few good shots. But thanks for hanging. Like button, subscribe, and yeah, share it with your friends. Help it grow. Thanks for all that, and we'll be back later, everybody. Thanks for hanging. Have a good weekend. I'm off to the driving range where John already is.